Hi, welcome back to another edition of Discussing Dogs in the D. It's been a while since we checked in. I've had a lot of stuff going on, but after the 4-part WDIV interview that Karen Drew did, and she did an amazing job showcasing some of Detroit's issues with dogs, I wanted to touch base and talk a little bit about what we see every day in the field working as Karens. What Chain sees. I can't talk for other outreaches, but I know what we all have in common and what we see on a regular basis. So what I'd like to go over today is a couple things, bouncing off what Karen Drew came up with. And I really appreciate her deep dive. I appreciate all of the information she gives. So anything that you'd like to reference back to, she has a 4-part interview. It can be found at click on Detroit in the D, all 4 videos, and then all of the documents that I'm going to reference, which is public knowledge. So what I want to touch on first is that between 2020 and 2022, there were almost 100 dogs shot at in the city of Detroit. In those situations, 30 of the dogs were on their actual property. And I know that most animals living in Detroit are used as, guard dogs, or our dogs maybe tethered or chained up outside, just based off of the experiences that I've seen. And some are inside their own home. So when you have a person entering that property, dogs are there taken off guard, unaware of the situation. They usually aren't around their owner, or it's loud, there's commotion, there's somebody coming in the area. Maybe they're issuing a search warrant or such. So what I'd like to go over today is to talk about the similarities between us and maybe a city like Chicago that is in fact 4 times as large as us and has the same demographic as we do. So when you have a city the size of Chicago, why are we shooting 3 times as many animals in the city of Detroit? I don't know. I do know that we have the same things that they do. We have blight, we have crime, we have vacant buildings, vacant homes. We also went through a COVID epidemic, and we have the same types of dogs that are stereotypical for aggressive dogs, those certain breeds or breed mixes. So in 2020, there were 24 dogs shot in the city of Detroit. 2021, there were 32. And 2022, there were 44 dogs shot. So obviously, the case numbers are going up. There's hundreds of thousands of dollars in claims against the DPD for shooting animals. So you would think, instead of shooting animals and incurring these costs, right? Why don't we invest in some training with our police officers? And I want to be the first person to say, I'm never going to bash a police officer. That is not me. That is not my MO. But also, they're not set up for success, not with animals, with domestic violence, with cult issues, with sex trafficking issues, with children on site, with CPS. Like, our officers, period, are not trained in these types of situations. And unfortunately, when they're going after a suspect, or they're giving a search warrant, they're not trained into how to react in those situations to animals. They're going to protect their person, and a lot of the times they're shooting, and that's just not a necessary thing, especially if you're going on that dog's property. Of course it's going to lunge at you or bark at you. Tito might be a couch potato, but I guarantee that if you broke in my window right now, he's going to bark at you, and he's probably going to lunge at you, and he's 115 pounds. And if you're going to shoot at this dog, the other dog's going to go after you too. So, and I don't live in the city of Detroit. It's just a common thing. Like, any type of dog is either going to bark or lunge or run away, or, try to protect their owner or the kids or the other animals in the home. So with that, police reports say also that it's a lot of loose animals, which goes right back to the problem at hand. Why so many loose animals? there's no answer. There is no mandatory, spay and neuter law, which there should be. There is no way to stop these backyard breeders when you can't enforce a breeding license law when there is no place to get such breeding license. And then what do you do with all the dogs when we're already overpopulated at DACC? Where do you put them? Where do they go? So let's stop the problem at hand and let's stop producing more animals. That would be, rocket science, right? So when Karen went and sat down with the assistant chief of DPD, they said they do have a dog issue in the city. It's been there for years. That's nothing new. We all know that. It has increased significantly since I started volunteering back in 2007 or 2019. It's insane. On Sunday alone, we had 6 owner surrenders and like 3 to 4 dogs that were found just wandering that we tried to get home in some scenario. So think about that. I alone took 2 dogs back home, and of those 2 dogs, they were like, just take this puppy, I don't want it. Wasn't a pit bull, wasn't a Cane Corso, it didn't have parvo, it wasn't sick, it wasn't injured. They just didn't want to deal with it, and the poor thing had been living on the porch for a couple days. And this is a dog under like 3 months old. So what are those dogs going to do in situations when they're hungry and they're scared and they've been living on the street? They're probably not going to be in the best shape. They're going to be scared. They're going to be what some people might call street smart, and have learned to fight off other animals to survive, because a dog only knows survival. They don't know anything about where to go get help, When it comes to the assistant chief, he didn't give any concrete answers. I've never seen somebody tap dance around an issue more than Lori Swoll as well. Tap dance around the issue. This side blames this side, that side blames that side. It's kind of crazy. They also said that the city has invested a lot of money into animal control. So now they have somebody to call in these situations. Well, do they? Because I look at these police reports and it says MHS or animal control is not open. Dog was shot. Dog was never found. So now we've shot a dog. It's out in the city, shot, hurt, in pain, scared, and they just didn't find it. And animal control and MHS were open. And then there's no follow-up notes. So if there's no standard to go by, and there's no reporting standard, and there's no, follow-up standard, then that dog's out there possibly injuring somebody else, causing mayhem somewhere else because of something that was inflicted on that animal for no reason. So I'm going to stop there. Stray dog problem. Lori Swoll, her title is one of the directors at DACC. She has no clue on the exact population of, dogs in the city, because most people don't get their dogs licensed. But I will say this, that they reported that more dogs ended up at DACC this year than ever in the past 3 years. So she was blaming it on COVID dogs. I don't think that's a thing. Not in the city of Detroit. Do I think it's a thing in the suburbs? Absolutely. The city of Detroit has abandoned houses. It has dogs chained up 24/7, dogs tied up, tethered, dogs being, housed to protect, criminal activities, drugs, prostitution, sex trafficking, whatever you want to call it. So there's that issue. My thing is, if these are her, what she calls COVID dogs, and people get a dog and they're not responsible anymore and they have to go back to work and they can no longer care for the dog, why aren't they being prosecuted for abandonment of said dog? Because they're not taking owner surrenders, so I'm not sure where her numbers and her information's coming from. I do think that is a small percentage, probably under 2%, but the problem is massive amounts of overbreeding, inbreeding, people leave and move out of their house and just leave their animals, why can't we pull the record of the last person that lived at that home, that tenant, that renter, the owner of the property, and then turn around and issue them an abandonment ticket and actually follow through with it? I don't understand that. So that would also go back to requiring that license and pushing the license, requiring a spay and neuter and pushing that. But no, it's just COVID dogs. That doesn't make sense to me. And then when somebody does break the law, nothing's done about it. I've covered that a couple times. Right now, in 2023, there's already been 250 tickets issued. But what happens is these people break the law and nothing's done about it. So you're issued a citation and then what? Nothing. You can literally just do nothing about it and you're good to go. So when it comes to how do we get over this problem and move on, I don't think there's just one answer. And I think it's going to be a collaborative effort. I think that DPD should partner with some serious actual dog behavior training specialists. DACC should be involved in that. If they're going to issue a search warrant and they know there's animals on the property, which 9 times out of 10 there's probably going to be in the city of Detroit, they're probably outside living animals or tethered or chained. Why not have an animal control officer or an officer that's trained in animal behavior be on site? Maybe even if I understand, I don't want anybody to get bit, but why can't we dart the animal instead of shooting the animal? Like, why can't we tranquilize the animal? I don't understand why that's not a thing. So then it goes into speaking about outreaches, and they talked about DDR, which I don't personally work with them, so I don't know a ton about their process. And then they went into talking to Jim Freeman on Chain, and he gave a really good explanation. Like, these dogs don't fall out of the sky. They're not stray dogs. They were owned dogs at one time that people threw away, or that, their dog had a litter and this puppy got out and they never went to look for it. That's not a stray animal. That's an owned animal that somebody was irresponsible with. And then, there's outreach groups like the Karens and Chained and Dog Aid and other ones, which I don't speak for and I don't represent. But we're out there every weekend and throughout the week, and we're fundraising and we're taking care of these animals, and we're making sure that we're taking them off 8 to 10 foot tow chains or locks and building them freedom kennels and things of that nature. Why can't we just all get on board and come together to create stuff like that so that these dogs don't get out and they don't get loose? What I loved was also that, it's little to do with the fact that the dogs are chained, right? That's what somebody said throughout this. They can't watch a house 24/7. They don't have the manpower because there is a tether law. There is a law about dogs being outside, but they can't watch dogs 24/7 to see if they are chained up and be able to issue citations and tickets and move forward. That's absolute bullshit. First off, an owner will tell you he's an outside dog. She's an outside dog. Any outreach group that works with them knows that those dogs are out there 24/7. All you have to do is watch a Ring video camera for one night. All we would have to do is come up with a group of people to go out and do a quick surveillance of 10 blocks, and we're going to have tons of dogs kept outside 24/7. So we all know that's bullshit. So we're going to take that and act like they didn't say it, because come on, guys. Like, please. That's just a ridiculous excuse. And then I would like to go through a couple of the police reports. I'm not going to go through them all. There was a ton of them. If you go on clickdetroit.com, you can see each one of them. I'm just going to go through a couple that kind of stood out to me. So, Precinct 6, shots fired, 1 dog, and the dog wasn't found. So the dog was shot, the dog was never found, and the note said animal control and MHS were not open. So there we have a loose, shot dog just in the streets, and that's just legal. Now, if I was to shoot this big, beautiful thing, and he's mine, I'm going to go to jail, right? Because you can't shoot your dog. But the police can shoot your dog and just whatever, right? Just nothing happens. Well, it's a loose dog, it's a stray dog. Well, do they know that for sure? Did they check for a microchip? Did they look on the lost and found sites and compare it to something else? Sorry, that was Cheeto, he just burped. No, none of those things happened. So there's that. Precinct 12, loose dog, 2 shots fired. Attacked an officer when he exited the car. Dog probably survived. It literally says it in the notes. I don't think an officer should get bit. I don't want you guys to think that. But 2 shots fired because the dog attacked the officer. The dog was shot twice. The dog probably survived. They don't know. Just out there, probably survived. So then leave it to the outreach groups to get a frantic call from somebody. There's this dog and he's limping and he's bleeding from his mouth or this or that. And then we raise the funds, tens of thousands of dollars to take care of these animals, to get them back to normal from something the actual police department did. Kind of crazy. Precinct 10. This one's a sad one, guys. And I really want you to take a minute. And if you are already done, do not listen to this part. So precinct 10, 13 shots fired, 1 dog. The dog was on their own property. Officers were issuing a search warrant. The dog was shot in the mouth and then cornered in a bedroom and then shot 13 times total. That's insane. So 13 shots fired, 1 dog on their own property, officers giving a search warrant, shot the dog in the mouth, then cornered it, and the dog was fired on 13 times total. I don't know if that dog survived or not. So that's on its own property. I don't understand how that's okay. And I guarantee there's going to be people out there in animal welfare that don't agree with me and don't agree with my opinion, and that's cool. I'm fine. I'm giving facts. I'm following up on something that was inboxed to me multiple times today and last night, and I wanted to touch base. I want to understand what everybody else thinks. I want to know, are there groups out there that are, animal behavior specialists that want to partner with DPD and want to give them a little bit of training and guidance? I mean, we have to do better. If Chicago, that is, 4 times bigger than us, and we shoot dogs 3 times more, maybe we need to start following through with training. Maybe we need to start following through with actually giving our animal control officers the ability to enforce laws and rules. Groups like Chained, the Karens, and Dog Age shouldn't have to exist for any other reason besides assistance in keeping animals with their owners. We shouldn't have to be literally taking care of those animals so that they survive outside in the elements 24/7. And then there's nothing more frustrating to me than when I go into a home where we've been supplying them with dog food and, helping them with getting them vaccinated at clinics, and they refuse to spay and neuter. And then the next time you go over there, boom, all of a sudden, oh, my dog had puppies, and we're going to sell them. We're going to sell them on Craigslist. It's like insanity to me. How is this okay? Why is this okay? And then your heart breaks because they're not following the rules, or you can't help them anymore because really they're just taking advantage of you. But then the dogs need you and you want to make sure that the dogs are taken care of. And it's this vicious cycle. If we just put into place the laws that are already there and then just turn it up one little notch with a mandatory spay and neuter, we could totally turn this problem around in 3 to 5 years. I know it doesn't sound immediate because it's not going to be immediate, but big problems never have short resolutions, right? So those are my thoughts. Again, my name's Jess. This is Discussing Dogs in the D. This is Cheeto, and this is Little B. both of my Detroit specials. Oh, we do have an update. Cheeto is not a bull mastiff. He's been an imposter for the last 3 years. We got his DNA done. He is a Rottweiler pit bull mix. So it looks like I have 2 pit bulls in my hands here. And I will say, if you come in my home, my dogs are going to lunge at you, and they're probably going to bite you, because you shouldn't be breaking in my windows or breaking through my front door. For all the haters out there. See you soon. Have a great day.